It felt like them giving up their dreams didn't actually really mean anything. Where did the stakes go? Hey guys, it's Kristen, and today we are talking about Season 2 of Netflix's series Siempre Bruja. Now this is a show that I had reviewed Season 1, and it was a very polarizing season. You know, some people loved it, some people hated it. I was part of the latter. I'll leave a link to my Season 1 review here if you want to check it out, just to see kind of what I thought then versus how I'm feeling now about the show. So even though I didn't really like Season 1, there were a couple of little moments that had me feeling like, you know, I would be kind of curious to see where they go in a Season 2. So today we're going to be talking about that. This season we're following actually a lot of different storylines, but I would say the main one is around Carmen wanting to achieve this dream of becoming, you know, the most powerful witch she can, so that she can go back in time, bring back her mother from being burned at the stake, and they can live a free life together in the modern day. And there's also a feud going on between Carmen and a character named Amanda, who runs like a YouTube challenge channel. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on Siempre Bruja Season 2. I'm really curious to see what you think and how it compared to the first season. Now I think we should just start kind of with the elephant in the room. One of the big issues that I had with Season 1 was the relationship between Kermit and Cristobal. I just did not like how it was portrayed and sort of like the message that went along with it, but I am happy to say that it looks like the creators of the show decided to go in a completely different direction. At the end of Season 1, Cristobal ends up coming to modern day, and in this new season we actually get a scene that addresses their relationship and, you know, kind of like the problematic issues behind it. Cristobal's like, I can't be in this modern day, Carmen, like, can't we just go back to the past? Everything was easier then. And Carmen's like, I was a slave, so of course everything was easier for you. And I really liked that they addressed that and kind of showed that Carmen has changed from the person that she was when she was in the past, and that she's stronger, more independent, and she knows that, like, she doesn't want to go back to that past life, and that even though Cristobal might have been seen as progressive back then, he still is stuck in that past and will never really be able to get out of that dynamic that they would have as slave and slave owner. He's not able to like grasp this new Carmen, and he would rather them just go back in time and go back to how things were, which is like not how it should be. So I appreciated that the show addressed that and was kind of like, this is not cool. And honestly, I feel like after that, Cristobal was sort of just written out of the show. It was a little bit abrupt, but at the same time, I think that it was worth it to just like move past that storyline and move on to this new story of Carmen trying to bring back her mother. The other thing that's interesting to know about the show is that as much as this is a fictional story, there are elements of real history in it. Afro-Colombians being persecuted during the Cartagenian Inquisition is like a real thing that went on. Carmen ends up traveling back in time, and with like this newfound knowledge that she's gotten, is able to help her enslaved friends get to San Vicilo de Palenque, which was a real Colombian village founded by African runaways to help escape slavery. You know, that's like a real thing that actually happened. And the character of Carmen's mother, Paula Eguiluz, is actually based off of a real life historical person. And I think it can be easy to get kind of caught up in the telenovela style of the show, but you know, there's real history that we're actually learning as well. This season they also added some new characters into the mix that I thought were really great. Kobo, who is like a pirate from the 1700s, Antares, who is like a witch doctor, and I think they did a really good job of kind of like interweaving these new characters into the story. Kobo and Alicia particularly, I really loved their little love story. I thought it was really, really well done, because they sort of had this like magical time-bending romance. Like no matter what time, these two characters are going to be able to find each other and be together. And I thought that was actually really cool to see like the past sort of repeating itself, that like, you know, these two characters are always destined to meet and then something tragic happens, but just the fact that they're destined to be together I thought was like a really nice touch. And also throughout the season we get to go back to the past a couple of times, and we get to see that these characters in modern day, there are versions of them in the past that also meet and know each other. So it just felt like these characters are destined to always be in each other's lives, and I love stories like that. It's sort of like an if-then storyline, where it's like there are just certain things that are meant to happen in your life, or certain people that are meant to be in your life no matter what, and I really kind of liked how they tackled that in this show. And based off the ending of this season, it looks like they might really rely on that even more going into a potential Season 3, which I really hope they do, because honestly, like I said, that that was one of my favorite parts. Another character that was really fun to watch was Johnny Key. He's someone that was also a standout in season 1, and I love that with him they're able to add like this musical element to the show because, you know, you guys know I'm a sucker for a musical, and, you know, Dylan Fuentes, who plays Johnny Key, is a really talented musician. And actually, even with that, they were able to do a guest cameo from Raycon. This guy has a lot of hits. He's a Latin superstar. Like, that was cool that they were able to kind of get a little cameo like that in this show. And speaking of music, I think that's another highlight of this show, and that's something that I actually enjoyed last season as well. The music is really good. They have a lot of fun, upbeat Latin sounds that just really add to the story, and just in general, you're in Cartagena and it's really beautiful. You know, the sets and the, you know, the locations that they're in look really, really nice. Now, on the other side of things, there were a couple of things that I felt did not necessarily work in this show. I think the biggest for me is really just that there were so many plot points that at times the storyline did get a bit messy. Sometimes they just kind of told us things after the fact instead of showing us what went on, or there were definitely moments where there were some characters that just didn't really have a big purpose in this season. I think one of them that really stood out to me was Esteban, the professor, who, you know, had a big role last season. This season he didn't really do much, and then at the very end he kind of went back in time with Carmen and was like, I'm just gonna stay here, and it just felt very random and out of place. I felt like we were missing his story and that it just came out of nowhere. I think at times even the friendship felt a little bit confusing, or like it was sort of based on lies, like a lot of keeping things from each other until we got to the end of the season when it was kind of like, alright, well now we have to kind of come out with all of our secrets and come out with all of our dreams and wishes and, you know, bond a bit more as we try to save Carmen. The character of Danny was also like a struggle to watch this season. I think that he was very unlikable, and some of the moments with him I thought were just like laughably dramatic. I also think that they didn't really go deep enough on the Mr. Hyde story, especially with this mystery around this guy named Andy who died. You know, like they reveal what happened, but it just felt like they could have gone a little bit deeper with the story there. And we also open up a storyline this season of this witch named Leona who possesses one of the characters, and I felt like they also didn't dive into anything really in that story, so it was like, why is this person really doing this? What is the purpose? And I didn't think that there was enough context there. I think they could have actually really fleshed out that story a lot more and made it really interesting, but it kind of felt like it was tacked on like halfway through and just not fully fleshed out. And I think just in general with that, I wish that there was a little bit more sort of, I guess, explanation of the powers and the magic, because sometimes it feels like, oh, well, Carmen's mostly doing like herbal potions and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden like the character Amanda can like levitate stuff, and I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa. I would just love to have them dive into the magic a bit more. I think that, you know, there were even like certain moments like when Kobo looks in the Book of Shadows and sees that someone's going to die, like some of that stuff didn't feel like it made sense and kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. I think the other issue I had with this season was after the friends end up kind of giving up their dreams to save Carmen, it makes it seem like maybe they can still have their dreams, but then, you know, we know what happened to Kobo, so I thought that was a little bit confusing, and nobody seemed really that concerned with the fact that like they gave up their biggest goals in life. You know, Maite's still gonna go on this journey with Green World. Johnny Key's still going to pursue being a professional singer, so, you know, if they're able to still pursue their dreams, where did the stakes go? It felt like them giving up their dreams didn't actually really mean anything. Overall, I will admit, I think that Siempre Bruja Season 2 was much better than Season 1. It was a little bit all over the place, but I think that it had a lot of moments that really worked well. I particularly really loved the twist ending, and also just following Kobo and Alicia's relationship. Although I have to say, like, kind of as I'm talking about the show now, I'm realizing like I don't really have that much to say about Carmen, because I feel like she's a character that, you know, is a little bit boring, which is weird to say because she's a witch and she has all these powers, but I feel like I connected a lot more with like her friends, and that those characters had such big personalities that they kind of took over the show a little bit more than with her. While I ultimately liked where Carmen's story went with her mother and everything, I kind of had more fun and I think I was more invested in other things that were going on, like Kobo and Alicia's story. If you guys like this one, you can check out more of my reviews right over here, and I'll catch you in my next video. See ya!